So good afternoon everybody, and welcome to the final part of your 4-day course. I hope that you've enjoyed it so far, and I hope that you've maybe touched on things that you've already worked on before, touched on things that have opened your thoughts and eyes to a different way of looking at it, and also experienced some things that you've never experienced before. But I'm pleased to see that some of you have embraced your creativity and enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Absolutely. And you know, the thing about our lives as human beings is that we are constantly receiving stimulus that we're not used to. You know, we had a talk earlier on about noise and sound. When I've finished working with spirit, I can't cope with a lot of noise and clatter because it's disquieting to my soul. And that's because I'm in that energy of the spirit, that moment where the two worlds blend together on a completely different vibration to the one that we live in on a day-to-day basis. And it's a bit like the higher up in altitude you go, the more difficult it can be to breathe because the air's thinner. So therefore you can go a little bit dizzy and a little bit disquieted. And it's like those reactions. We are used to living in a certain environment of energy. And each time we work with the spirit and with the psychic, we are stepping out of that and creating a new space. So every time we work, we are creating a new space. We're not going back into the one that we produced yesterday, because today is a new day. Today is a new day full of different things. Each client that you work with is here for different reasons. Their energy is different. So it should never be the same twice. Now, you know, there's always that saying, isn't there, familiarity breeds contempt. And some people get quite used to building that energy and, oh, I can do this, it's a piece of cake. And they go into working maybe not as prepared as they should be. And it is in those moments that we can miss that golden spot, that one thing, that one sentence that would have made such a difference. So each time that you work, you need to treat it as though it's the first time you've ever worked. Every single time it needs to be the only time you've ever done it. And if you do that, then you will always keep that impetus going. You will always be able to build that energy. And with time, you get more used to being able to build it. You don't have to put as much conscious effort into it. It becomes more of a much more natural place to work. Because at the very beginning, you're conscious of, I've got to put my energy back there, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that. Your conscious mind is at work until that point when the spirit make that connection. And at that point, the energy will lift and you will go into that more natural state. And with time and with working with your team, with those beautiful spirits that have chosen to walk this pathway with you, and they have chosen to be with you. Now, it could be that some of them have been part of lives before. It could be that they know that your energy and theirs is going to blend well, and they'll pick that one and I'll pick that one, and they choose. They're not sent here. They aren't stood in a big queue thinking that's your ticket, off you go. It doesn't work like that. You're not at the deli waiting to be served. It's not like that at all. They will know that you are going to come to this precise time in your life where that unfoldment is going to take place, and they have chosen to be the ones that step forward. Now, I will say that usually you will get one who is going to blend quite easily with your personality, in the respect of they will blend quite easily with the way your mind works, with the way your consciousness accepts things. So you're not going to get a sweet little airy-fairy little creature type, floaty person, hippie, whatever you want to call it. You're not going to get somebody like that coming to a worker who is analytical and logical. You're going to get somebody who comes across from the spirit side as being much more serious, if that's the way to put it. It sounds a bit odd. One of my workers, which you weren't introduced to the other night, which I was not disappointed, but I thought, oh, well, that's a shame, because it would have made them laugh. He is a little chubby oriental gentleman who thinks his only purpose in life now, if he could come back, would be to sit under a tree, watch the ladies go by and drink his rice wine. And he's so cheeky and he laughs, and people say he reminds them of the laughing Buddha, you know, the little fat laughing Buddha, because he just comes through and he laughs and he belly laughs and he makes everybody else laugh. In doing that, he uplifts the room, he uplifts the energy. He's actually got a very serious job that he's doing, because he is the one that brings communicators through to touch their loved ones still here. So his purpose is a very, very important part of what we do. But he does it by raising that vibration with laughter. Whereas the other one, the one that I know some of you have been introduced to, he is much more serious and much more considered about what he's doing. I suppose you could say he's a bit more prim and proper. That would be the best way to put him. But they suit me, because that's the two sides of my personality. I'm either going to be up here and now come on, we're getting serious now, let's get on with it, or I'm going to be falling about and fits the laughter with you. That is who I am. So obviously, those are the people, those are the intelligent people that I need to blend with me easily. Years ago, they brought me a very still and quiet energy, a very still and quiet guide. And in the end, I had to say, I'm sorry, but most of the time I can't even feel you. I don't know they're there, because their energy was so soft. I didn't feel it, because I've got all of these strong energies around me, and I know my energy is strong. And this soft, gentle feeling, people would say, they're there again, look, and I'd think, are they? Because I haven't felt them. And in the end, I said, I think the best thing to do would be to find another medium for them to work with. Why waste a good guide? Why waste that energy when it can be put to good use? And sometime later, I was told that that was my offer of working on the healing vibrations. Now, I've always said, we can all do a form of healing. We are all capable. If your little one falls on the floor and scrubs their knees, you pick them up, you rub their knees down, say, oh, come on, I hope you're not at the floor. You give them a kiss, and they stop crying, and they're fine again. If that's not healing, I don't know what is. Will you look at somebody and you smile at them? You make them feel better. Have you ever smiled at a stranger in the street? Yep. What happens? They smile back. Either that or they look at you to say, what do they want? Where do I know them from? Did I do that? But most of the time you will find, not only do they smile back, but you can see that they uplift. Healing in action. We do it every single day. And I'm good with that. But this having to be still and quiet and all of that stuff, it's not me. I find it really restricting. So I will send my healing out absently, but I wouldn't refuse anybody if they came to me. But what I would do is recommend they went to somebody else who likes to work in that energy all the time. And I would recommend somebody that I trusted and that I knew, and say, look, I'll give you some healing today, but if you want to continue with it, I would suggest that you go to this person, that person, whatever. Because that works for me. So that quiet energy, as much as I'm sure it was just as beautiful and powerful as all of the others. It wasn't the pathway that I chose to take. Now, had I chosen to be that person, I'm sure that we would have been as good a team as any, but it's not my way. And I think sometimes that people have this, you see mediums work and think, I do A, I do B, I do C, I do D, and I get to where I need to be. Well, yeah, you do, for you. But your A, B, C, D might not be the same as my A, B, C, D, because we are different. We think differently, we work differently, our energy is different, we are completely unique. So although there are some foundations on which you can build, you are all, in your uniqueness, the most beautiful creatures there are. All of you. You all have your own pathways. Some of you will work in public, some of you will work one-to-ones, some of you will work in the great consciousness and touch people wherever you are able to. And, you know, people think mediumship is about standing there, getting a message from a spirit person. And to a great degree it is. But we also use it every day with people that we don't know and with people that we do know. We sometimes feel the need just to say something. We don't know why, but we've got to say it. We have been inspired. Now, some of that could come from sensing their energy like we did yesterday. You might be picking up on something that they just need something, a word about. But sometimes it is an impression from the spirit world. This person needs to not be invisible. This person needs to know they are not on their own. This person needs that contact to make them feel whole again today. It makes a difference. And spirit inspires in so many ways. We've talked already about the way we get smells and tastes, and all of those are the things. You get things that trigger your memory of a person in the spirit world. Use that when you are working. You know, I have one brother in the spirit world. If I am given that name while I am working, then that to me is one of my symbols that they've either got a brother in the spirit world or they have somebody with that name in the spirit world. I then have to tip into that energy to see which it is and clarify that, because you don't want to be giving your clients an either or. You don't want to be giving them a choice with what you are saying. You need to be quite clear. Ambiguous statements fit everybody. And sometimes when you're working, you know, you have to build that energy up. It doesn't just suddenly arrive like that. We build it up as we're working, and it gets stronger and stronger. And for some, we work from the psychic and we go into the spirit. I do both. Sometimes it depends how I'm working. It depends how I'm meant to work in that moment as to whether I go from the psychic up to the spirit or whether the spirit comes straight in. It also depends on the communicator. Some of them aren't waiting. Michelle mentioned last night about when I brought her ex-husband through. And he climbed over everybody else in energy to be heard. He wasn't going to be missed out, and he was going to be heard. And that in life was his personality. So when you've got a spirit communicator coming through, they should be bringing their personality. That is what makes you recognisable. You might be recognised by some by a photograph of you. So we could describe what you look like and you could say, yes, I know somebody that looks like that. But is that on its own enough evidence for you? Would you like to know about their personality? Do you need to know who they were, not what they looked like? As a clairsentient, I do not see my spirit communicators. I sense them, I can feel them. I know if they're tall, short, young, old, male, female, whatever. I also, because of the clairsentient, pick up very quickly on the conditions of their body and their mental state just before they passed away. But it's that personality. How many of you, excuse me, how many of you laugh about, oh, do you remember when she said this or he did that? The character, that's what you're looking for, because that's what brings us alive. You can describe a whole room full of people and what they look like, but that doesn't let you know them, does it? And when you're giving evidence, to provide evidence of life eternal, which is what we're doing, we are giving evidence, we are not giving proof. Proof lies with those that you are speaking to. You are not giving proof, you are providing evidence, because your recipient is going to be the one that decides whether what you've said is enough for them. And we'll go on to the sitters at this moment, because I think it's very important. There will be some who would accept a fly on the wall and say, oh yes, I know where that was. And there would be some, you could bring them birth certificate, death certificate, give them blood group, full address, telephone number, what they ate for breakfast, what colour their underpants were, and anything else, and they'd still say no. I don't know who that is. I don't know. No. It's relative to them. The ones that will accept anything and start to tell you their life story, you need to shut them up. I do that by saying, quiet, I'm telling you, you're not telling me. I'm here to tell you. Let's just do that. Because if you start to tell me about somebody, I am not going to connect with them, because that is not bringing evidence. So you have to be very clear and not allow the people to tell you. When I'm working in public, I usually say something joking along lines, excuse me, don't feed the medium, I know how to use my own knife and fork, you don't need to make me any bigger. And it makes people laugh, but it also makes them think. And the way that we deliver, the way that we talk to people makes a big difference as to whether they're actually going to sit up, listen to you, and let their energy go, let their defensives down. How many of you have actually been and watched a medium do a demonstration? Yeah? All of you? Have you been, Bonnie? Yeah? Have you seen somebody work? Right. How many of you go in there with high expectations of hearing from one communicator? That was different, wasn't it? That was a different thing. Because you see, no, you see, the thing is, you can have the idea that you want one person to communicate. And I'm sure that that one person knows that, and they will be doing their best. But if their energy isn't quite blending with the medium's energy, and that will be down to conditions, the medium, all of it together, they are not going to be able to get through. But somebody there might have a stronger energy that wants to speak to you instead. And it's the old thing of we get what we need, not what we want. But as a recipient, as somebody that's coming along hoping to hear from a certain person, when it's not that person, they will frequently close down on you. And at that point, they won't accept anything you're saying because it's not who they want. Now, they've lost out at that point on a beautiful communication, because all you can do at that point is leave it. Because otherwise you could be stood there for an hour and a half and still not have got anywhere, because it's not who they want. If they'd let that communication through, the one they do want might come through behind it. Because often, somebody's got to open the door. There's got to be one strong enough in energy to come through and open that door. And I often find, in my experience, that a strong personality will come and begin the communication, and then somebody else will step through. And that one might be the one that they actually wanted. And I think when they shut you down, you've lost it. You can't go on. So you just have to say, well, I've got to leave that with you and I've got to move on. I'm really sorry, but I can't do any more with it. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know. There's no shame in saying, I don't know. I just say, I haven't got a clue, no idea, because nobody's giving me that information. Don't try to make it fit. Don't try to please them. You're not here to please anybody. Our purpose is not to stroke people's egos, anxieties, or anything else. Our purpose is to show people that their loved ones continue in essence and creativity and in life. Because the only thing is, they've gone on to a different vibration of life. They're no longer being pulled down by gravity and these cumbersome vehicles that we walk around in, because we are not our body. Our body is our vehicle. We are the consciousness within it, and it's that energetic soul, that consciousness of life, that is what goes on. That's us going on. So always look for the things that make it real. Always look for the things that you would think, yep, that's personality. I know who that is. You know, as I say, that prime example was Joseph, because you knew immediately that was Joseph. There's no question, was it? The fact that he bellowed his name out has got nothing to do with it, but it was the hope, and that happens all the time, and you've got to go with it. Now, because we get into that energy, we become so absorbed in it. I certainly do. As a clairsentient, I become completely absorbed in that energy, and sometimes I'll change the gait, the way I walk, I might change the way I speak, I might take on mannerisms that they would have had when they were here, which leads me on to the little danger point. If you've got somebody in the spirit world who could put a sailor to shame with their language, you need to be very mindful, because it is possible in that moment that out it slips. And although you might be creasing with laughter inside, it's not the done thing during a demonstration. And you know, sometimes you get families where you've got the one with the mouth better than a sailor alongside the very prim and proper staid people within the family who would be mortified to hear that sort of language in public. You know, we've all got that one relative, or we all are that one relative, that you think, oh God, what they're going to do next. We've all got one of those. If one of those is coming through, you need to be mindful that you're in a public place. Now, in a private sitting, it's not so bad, but personally, I don't use the swear words. But I will make sure my recipient knows that the language is pretty raw. I won't actually use the words, but I will make sure that they know that that's what they're doing, because it's part of who they were. But in a public arena, you have to be so conscious of those things. So what you're doing in real terms is you're having a conversation with the person out there, you're having a conversation with your guides, and you're also having a conversation with whoever it is that's trying to come through. Now, you've heard me say repeatedly in the last few days, your guides are your best friends, and they are. But if you wanted to make your presence known to somebody, and you went up and spoke to them and said, oh, hi, I haven't seen you in a long time, how are you doing? And they don't respond to you, what are you going to do eventually? You're going to step back, aren't you, and think, ignorant, won't bother with you again, and you're going to go away. So will the spirit people. So talk to them. They already know that you are so-and-so the medium, but just say, hi, how you doing? Thanks for coming. In your mind, usually, I say it out loud as well. I talk to my people as I'm working. If you've ever seen me work, I'm prone to talking to thin air. It happens all the time. But you are really just speaking to another person. You're not speaking to this exalted being who has suddenly been elevated onto Mick Jagger's pink cloud. You're speaking to somebody who has walked this physical earth and is a person. You're speaking to not a body, but you're speaking to a person, an intelligence. So in your mind, get used to talking to him in your way, with your personality. Not all staid and prim and proper. Just say, hi, how you doing? Thanks for coming. What do you want to tell me? How do you fit in? And when you're sensing things, clarify it with them. Go back and ask them, am I getting this right? Am I getting it across for you right? Am I saying what you want saying? It's all part of teamwork. It's all part of the way it works. You'll still get information if you don't make yourself as available, but it'll be much harder and it'll be a bit less and it won't have the same quality to it. Because would you ignore anybody here that was talking to you? I wouldn't. Not unless it was somebody I really, really didn't like and I hadn't spoken to. That would make it different. But most people, if they speak to you, you would speak back to them. Do them the same service. Give them the same respect that you would expect to find. And if you can do that, it works. Simple, everyday, human things work. Because our spirit loved ones are still human on some level. They're still aware of this physicality. Some of them will come and show you how they felt, show you what they were like before they passed away. You'll feel all of their ailments and their aches and pains. Some of them don't want to look at how they've passed away, but some of them will show you how they've passed away. And that is because it's really their last memories of Earth. It's their last memories of being alive. Some of them will also talk to you about what happened in the room after they've passed away, which for me is really good evidence, because at that point they'd already passed, yet they knew what their loved ones were still doing in that room. They're still able to say, I saw them do this and they did that to me, or whatever. That, to some, is really good evidence, especially when it's somebody who went into a room on their own and none of the family knew about it. When you can do that, then that is something that really, to my mind, reassures them and touches their heart, because they know their loved one knew what they did in that personal and very private moment. And these are all of the things that you're looking for within their personal life. Then we need to look at how they dressed, what sort of attitude they had to life. Did they have a certain food that was their favourite? Did they have a particular brand of cigarettes, a particular brand of soap, whatever? All of the things that made them a person, made up their life, their attitude, their habits, all of that. If you've got somebody who was a chain smoker when they were here, foregone conclusion that they're coming in a cloud of smoke, no doubt about it, because you would immediately remember them for that cloud of smoke. If there was somebody that had to have a certain food at a certain time on a certain day, then they'll bring you that food on that day. If that's the day they would normally have had it and they're with you at that time, then they will say, today's stew day, today's spaghetti sauce day, whatever. But they will do seemingly unimportant things. But there is nothing about our lives that is unimportant. Some things have a greater importance, but every single part of our life is what makes us us. It becomes our memories, it becomes part of our personality, and when we've gone, it becomes what people recognise us by. So nothing is too insignificant, whatever it may be. Then they may want to talk about the person here, what's going on in the family, who's doing what. Don't do that because I think it's a bad idea. It is their opinion. It's not set in stone. They are still people. They haven't suddenly got a bachelor's degree in knowing how to live your life. They would still make the same mistakes if they were here. So be mindful of that when you're working, and you know, you can say something like, well, you know, she's saying that that's a bad idea, but would you have listened to her when she was here? Because I'm not feeling quite what she's telling me. Make sure that they know, because there are people out there who would live their whole lives by what a psychic or a medium tells them. There are some people, and I'm sure those of you that already work know, there are some people that need to consult about any single thing. I have a client who would have a reading every day if I would let her. Every day. I don't let her. But if I would let her, she will have a reading every day. And she is the sort of person, if she's got toothache, does that mean she's going to have all her teeth taken out? Because she don't want to have all the teeth taken out, because she don't want false teeth. Because, well, I just don't want false teeth. I can't possibly live with false teeth. The woman is almost 70 years old. And every part of her life is lived in that way. Everything. If she's got a little mark on her hand, is it cancer? And she'll ring up and I'll say to her, I don't know. A, I'm not looking at it. B, I'm not a doctor. C, I think you need to, if you're that worried, go and see about it.
I just have a question to the previous subject. So it's the same on that side, that if people are open to learning and grow, you will.
Absolutely. You'll just stand still.
Stay in the same.
You'll just stay in that same environment.
The exact same principle.
Exactly. Really, to some degree, they mirror what we do here. They're just not in the physical body anymore, but they have the opportunities to learn and to grow and to move forward. And it works this way. There are many levels of thought, of energy, of vibration on the other side of life. And we can progress through them if we want to. If you're going up, you can always come back down to touch the earth. You can always come back to make that connection. But you cannot move up unless you grow and learn and expand your awareness to lift to that vibration. But going up there means you can dip back down here and then go back into your own existence.
Because I talked to my dad about this very significant thing that happened between us, he denied it. And I thought, really? I thought, you know, when you're on that side, you will actually have an insight and you admit.
No.
But then
you're still learning.
It's
you're still learning.
He doesn't want to fix too much.
No, he's still in denial about it. In time, hopefully.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. No, it's as I said before, you know, they don't suddenly become these exalted beings that have changed their whole attitude.
They would have like a teaching, there would be some kind
Only
of
if they're willing to accept it. Yeah, it's just like we are here. If you're not willing to open up to that, they can keep bringing you the opportunity to. But it's up to you whether you're willing to accept that. Yeah. And, you know, if his personality was such that he would never admit he was wrong, then that is going to be a really difficult thing for him to do. Yeah. So it could take him a while. Yeah. But others would do it straight away. It's a matter of that personality at work.
No, it was like a real eye-opener for me, because I had this idea that they go on the other side. You see your life.
Well, yeah, you can, but you don't have to do anything about it. It's down to that personal choice. Yeah. Sometimes they will come back and say something like, they understand they were wrong in the way that they treated people.
Right.
But if they were still here, they'd still be treating them like that.
Yeah, and he did that.
And sometimes that is the closest you're going to get to an apology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is also why you say that we shouldn't trust every advice.
Absolutely.
The person on the other side, because they can still be stuck in.
They're still stuck in their own personality, or still in their own personality, So what? Go on.
How important is it for you to know the names of the people you like, your spirit people that you live with?
What, spirit guides? For me, it was very important because I trained on my own. I didn't have anybody with me. So I had to know who these people were. And I had to know that I could prove that they had actually been here on this side of life. So for me, that was a part of my training, it was part of my development, and it was extremely important. Others, they're happy to work in the knowledge that they've got spirit working with them, and that is all they need to know. There are some people who never know who their guides are. They just know they're working in the truth and the light and the beauty of spirit and the love of spirit. It's different for everybody. It is really different for everybody. You will hear a lot of people. I mean, I'll give you, for instance, there was I'm sure some of you will know about him. There was a Native American Indian chief called Red Cloud. Red Cloud is well known as a spirit guide. If I had just one penny for every time I've heard somebody tell me that they work with Red Cloud, we would be having this little discussion here on some faraway island that we owned, and we would never need to think about working again. Because for some people, it's about they're still in their ego. I've got this important person, this is how good I am, and it doesn't wash. If they want to think that's who it is, then you're not going to be able to stop them. They're still going to do that. But usually when somebody says something like that to me, I just go, oh, that's nice. And that's the end of that conversation. And for those that know me well, if I say, oh, that's nice, it's not really positive thinking. But you're always going to get people who seem to think that if their guide has to be somebody that's important. What is important is the power of the spirit. What is important is that loving heart, that loving consciousness, and that beautiful energy that we build together to bring forward the work that we do. Who they are really doesn't actually matter to anybody else but you. You will see a lot of mediums saying, oh, you've got a so-and-so guide and you've got a so-and-so guide. Well, you know, maybe they have, but it might not be the one they're working with at the moment. We may well have connected with one who is waiting to come in. And if that is the case, then you could quite conceivably stop that medium in training from training any further, because the person they're feeling is not the one that great teacher told me I had. So I must be doing something wrong. In actual fact, you're not doing anything wrong at all. You're growing towards the one that person has connected with. Personally, for me, guides are extremely personal. They are your team. They are your collaborators. It's personal. It's like, you know, you have your circle of friends on this earth, the people, your go-to people, the few people that know you inside out or know you better than anybody else does. Your guides are exactly the same on the higher side of life. They are those go-to souls, and it's personal. If people start trying to link into my energy and find out how I'm working with, I will boot them straight out if I feel it, because I'm not having it. You haven't asked me. If you want to know about my guides, I can quite happily tell you, but you're not nosying and about to find out. And then we go on to the next bit of where guides are concerned. There are guides on the higher side of life whose purpose is and whose choice has been to help where they are able, particularly healing guides. You will link into that collective energy along with other people doing the same work, and that's when you hear people talking about the emerald ray of Raphael or whatever. That energy is a consciousness out there which we are all capable of tapping into. And as I say, particularly healers will do that They will tap into that pure energy of those rays. That doesn't mean that that energy is your personal guide. That means that you are able to tap into that energy and channel it. And when that happens, be blessed that it has. But remember also that it is part of that universal consciousness, that great crystal grid of life energy that we are connecting into. Because there are millions of us out there, all with lights on. We're like lighthouses in the darkness. And we are all capable of tapping into that creative consciousness, that wonderful, wonderful power. You know, there are some people who work with archangel healing, and they tutor it, and it is a beautiful energy. I have a very good friend who works with that, but she also will tell you they are not her personal guides. She has been taught how to channel that form of energy. But she will quite make sure absolutely that you know they're not her personal guides. And that's as it should be. There are others, not just archangel energy, but there are other energies, there are other beings out there in the spirit world who have also chosen to work in a particular way. There are some that will come into home circles and help tutor within those circles. They're not anybody's personal guide there. They've come in to help expand their knowledge, to build the power. And it's that cooperation of spirit. It's that cooperation of soul. So, but your guides, your everyday guides, if you want to call them that, they will be the ones that know you best. They will be the ones that work with you, know how your energy works, so that they can build from it on the other side and get the communicators through in the right way. Because there's nothing worse than an energy that isn't blending. Do you remember the old days when you had to tune your radios in? We used to, I don't know if you've had it over here, but in the UK we had pirate radio, which was actually a pirate ship out in the ocean, because just outside the limit, so that they could play rock and roll music and things like that, and weren't going to get arrested for it. And you used to put Radio Caroline, it was called, and you used to get your little transistor radio and stick it under your pillow so your mum and dad didn't know you'd got it. And it would constantly, you'd be having to tune it back in, and you'd be hearing all this whining and whistling going on, and then they'd start to sing and it would fade away and then it would come back in. Fabulous. I miss those days, really. But if you think of your energy when you're linking to spirit, it's a bit like that. So your guides need to be able to build that energy with you and build their rapport with you, to make sure that it's not tuning out and coming back in and distant and interference. I mean, you used to get one channel jumping on top of another channel and all sorts. You don't want that to be happening. So we need for them to be close to us and understanding of us. And then we'll get these others that will come in and just give a little bit of an extra boost when it's necessary. So has that answered your questions? So are we good to go now to be introduced to one of your guides today that you're going to be working with? So what I'd like you to do is give yourself enough space in your seats. You're looking chill there, young man. You're looking chill.
You talk about pirate radio. We used to pick that down in Texas.
Oh.
They come up from Mexico.
All right, okay. Radio Caroline. Yeah. Yeah, there was a big kerfuffle. I remember it when I was very young, because they'd played the Rolling Stones on this radio, and oh, there was great uproar. It's in all the newspapers and everything. Absolute criminals playing the Rolling Stones on the radio. And we were all good.
The first time I heard Wolfman Jack was when he come up out of a
Oh, right.
come up out of
Yeah. So what I need you to do is just sit comfortably and upright as best you're able. I know what you need to always remember is if you've got limitations within your physical body, then you have to make allowances for that. So if you are unable to sit upright, you sit in a position that's most comfortable for you. Same with your breathing. It's all right somebody saying to you, take a deep breath. Well, if I took a deep breath, I would then start to choke and probably fall over and you'd all be laughing at me. You breathe to the level that is comfortable for your being. So what I'd like you to do is just sit quietly for a few moments, and we're going to do a little exercise which is going to bring a guide in. Now, as much as you are able, I need you to follow what I'm talking you through. And I will let you know that they're going to come into the energy from behind you to begin with, but I am going to invite them to come round in front of you. So be aware of any energy changes. Be aware of anything that you feel you felt before. It's like, oh, felt that before. I wonder what that is. Take notice of those feelings in this space. So if you can just close your eyes for a few moments and be aware of yourself seated in your chair. Be aware of the energy in this beautiful space. Any noises, any sounds that come in around you, know that they are just part of the vibration of this time and space. Just take some loving and gentle breaths. And with each loving breath, feel that love go within. Feel your body beginning to relax. Being conscious of any aches and pains. Being conscious of your thoughts and your feelings. Feel that loving light all around you. Feel it as it touches your crown center, tumbling down all around your physical body. Feel it soothing and healing. Feel it connecting with your own auric energy. Feel that light and peace. Feel it going into the ground beneath you, grounding you and holding you in light. Now let your light, your energy, expand out around you. Doesn't have to go too far, but just feel it going out around you. Concentrate on the energy that is behind you and feel that expanding slightly and building in power, building in strength. Feel it as it begins to vibrate just a little quicker. Now invite one of your guides who wishes to be with you today to step into that energy. Feel it as your energy and that consciousness of life blend together. And breathe. Breathe gently and peacefully. How does that energy feel? Do you recognize it? Is it one that you have felt before? Are you at peace with that loving energy? Can you feel their love, their consciousness? Within your mind, speak to them. Even if you don't feel anything different, know that they are with you. Feel within your being, your energy, that they are with you. Be aware of any colours that you see, any feelings or thoughts, any sensations at all. And now, invite them to come and step around in front of you. Feel them as the energy comes with them and builds in front of you. Feel the sensation in your heart center and your solar plexus. Feel it as the energy links together, building that bridge of light between two worlds. Now they're going to take your hands in theirs. Feel their hands. Know that they are taking you by the hand. Let their energy be held within your hands. Feel their love. Feel their intelligence and their compassion. Feel their light. Make that connection. That beautiful moment where you share your hopes and dreams for the work that you are undertaking. It doesn't matter how great or how small those dreams may be. Know that your guides are willing and working with you in your choices to follow your pathway. You are a beautiful soul. Each one of you stands within the light of spirit, spirit incarnate and discarnate. Celebrate your joy in this moment. Celebrate your love in this moment. And feel the joy of a beautiful soul. And now they're very gently going to disconnect their hands from yours. You may well still feel them in your energy, but their closeness has stepped back. And they're going to return to stand behind you. Just feel that energy, that it drops, just so that you know that they are there. If you can't feel it, it doesn't matter. Know that they are with you. And very slowly and very gently, bring your awareness back to this time and this place. Very slowly and gently now, being aware of yourself seated upon your seat, aware of the room and this beautiful group of souls that you are a part of today. Very slowly and gently, bringing your awareness back to the here and now. Aware of that consciousness of breathing, aware of your own body, very slowly and gently. And when you do come back, either take a drink, wriggle your fingers, your toes, whatever you need to do to bring back that reality. Very slowly and gently. Very gently and slowly now, following the vibration of my voice, bringing your awareness back to this time and place. Okay, I won't talk too loud because you are all still in that heightened state of awareness slightly. How did that feel to you? You will control it as you're learning to work with it. That's part and parcel of it. But you've got to get, you know, it's like I said yesterday, you don't want to give me the keys to your car because we're going to be in a big crash if you do, because I can't drive. If you taught me to drive, then I would be able to drive. So it's about getting used to it. It's about working with it. It's about learning how it works. You know, although they've chosen to work with you, they've still got to get to know you in that way. Yes, they've watched you. Yes, they know how you think. All of this stuff. They know who you are. They know how you want to work. Now they've got to get that apprenticeship going. You know, to be a craftsman, you've got to be an apprentice first. You've got to be time served, haven't you? You know, you can't just suddenly... There are very few people who could just take a hammer and nails and wood and build something. There aren't many people could do that. You need to find somebody who knows what they're doing and you learn from them. And that's what they're going to do with you now. So those of you who have felt a guide that you have felt before, know that they have taken part in this experiment and they've taken that opportunity to build their energy with you. Now remember that you're all working in your own way. You're all working with your own abilities, your own intuitive process, your own inspiration. No two of you work in exactly the same way. No two mediums work in exactly the same way. Donna and I are going to work together on Wednesday evening. Our styles of energy will be completely different because we are unique. No one of us is any greater or lesser than the other. We're working in our own way. Michelle said she struggled not to go down off deep. We're working together for a transmediumship. Her guides immediately came into that energy and took that time to take the opportunity to, okay, let's go into this energy a bit deeper. Because we don't really get the opportunity to do that very often. It's usually just you and I. There isn't usually a beautiful, powerful energy in your room, is it? So they took the opportunity to do just that. Bonnie's felt an entirely different energy, who thought, yes, I've got a chance, I'm going to get here now and let her know I'm here. We're all working differently. How many of you, when I say see, I mean within your mind, how many of you see spirit? You do? You do? Anybody else?
Or a ray of color.
Okay, but you didn't see a spirit person. Do you normally? Have you before?
No.
Okay, you do, don't you?
Well, I don't see face, but it's like the energy creates.
No, I'm talking about being able to build the image of the face of the person. Okay. So you work on a clairvoyant vibration, whether it be coming through the clairsentient energy into the mind, or whether it's coming through the third eye chakra, opening up that mind's eye. How many of you get a high-pitched ringing in your ears? Well, yeah. Well, we can't really count you anymore, can we? But yeah, we'll count you in, darling. We will.
But the pitch does shift.
The pitch and tone changes. You see, that for me is activating the energy around our clairaudient abilities. Now, for some, it will never be more than those high-pitched noises. For others, if you were to develop that ability and learn how to listen through the stillness, you would get that thought voice, and you might even get their voice. I get the thought voice. I used to say I'm only clairsentient, but I do get words. I get sentences put into my mind. It's taken me, all these years to actually acknowledge that. I've always said I'm clairsentient. I don't do anything else. I'm a clairsentient. Of course I am. I'm feeling everything. So do you see how it works?
But don't you think that clairsentient, because you're using your senses, those thought words are part of it as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, because
Absolutely.
I've
But it's
always
taken me a lot of years to accept
Oh,
that it is actually there.
Oh.
I used to say, I don't know what they're saying, but I know what to say to you. That's what I used to say to people. I have to acknowledge that I do know what they're saying. I also know if they're speaking in a different language. I might not actually hear the language, but I know what I have to say in English, and I know it's not my language. So I can say they're from somewhere else because I know they're speaking to me in their first language.
I don't get the ringing, but I get I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
Yeah.
The ringing.
Right, okay.
Okay.
So the lack of ringing for me means that you are working through those clairsentient vibrations.
Okay.
When we get this high-pitched change, they're trying to tweak. It's a bit like I was saying about the radio, tuning it in. And you can train that, you can work with that. And it is literally about hearing within that stillness. So when you get that and you're in development, then you would sit quietly and you would just allow that sound with you and just let your energy go out a bit so it connects a bit closer with the spirit, so the vibration gets quicker, which makes it a higher vibration, and through that the words come.
So with the clairaudient, then do you hear it external from yourself? Or
Sometimes, some people,
Yes. Okay. That happens like just as a kid.
that happens to everybody at some point where they think somebody's spoken to them and things like that. That happens to anybody. That is about the conditions being exactly right in that moment for that spirit person to go, ooh, I'm here, or whatever. The clairaudience for some comes as like hearing a voice out there. For others it comes as a thought voice in here. For me, it most of the time comes from in here. Very, very occasionally I hear whispers. So because I hear whispers, I know if I wanted to really work on that, I most likely would be able to build that clairaudience out there. But I haven't done it yet. But
Sometimes for me, it's like you're talking to me. And sometimes it's the thought words.
Yes.
When I'm in a room full, like a psychic fair, I get the thought words.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'd be doing this.
Right.
Because
But the other reason for that is when you're doing a psychic fair or a big event, there are so many levels of vibrations going on. You'll hear people say, my granny's my guide, my mum's my guide, my dad's my guide, and things like that. My response to that would be that they probably are assisting out of love for you. They want to be connected because they love you. But have they been in spirit long enough to understand all the levels of energy that they're going to be using? Now, I know they tell us that there's no time in spirit, and there isn't. They don't have time like we do. But our guides just go into that light, they go into that higher vibration, and they sit within that knowledge. And then they come down to us, and I say down because they come through those levels to link to the earth again. So remember, their vibration is much higher than ours. When they come down here, it's dense for them. It must be like getting your welly gogs stuck in mud as you're trying to walk through it. You know, it's like getting stuck in a swamp. It must feel somewhat like that for them because they have no physical body, they're not in this dense energy, they are thought and love and compassion. So if you start to think about them like that, they then are absorbed within that light of knowledge, that consciousness wherein lies everything. And they will absorb it to the level of understanding that they have. Above them, or next in line, should I say, are the higher guides, the ones that know even more than that one does. And they will come in for specific work. Trance mediums, physical medium healers. These people will have specialists. So a trance healer who works either with psychic surgery or with trance healing will have somebody who was familiar with the anatomy of the human body. They're going to utilise our specialties. You know, for argument's sake, when, and it won't be for a long time, but when our Kevin goes and gets to go home, his work throughout the whole of his life in one level or another has been building and supporting throughout the whole of his life. So when he goes to the other side, it would be natural to use those talents within him if he wants to. So who's to say in the spirit world that he might not actually become a part of a circle energy for a home circle, part of the energy of a doorkeeper, those sort of things. He could go off and learn to do that. You know, somebody who has been a nurse all of their life here may well want to continue that with the souls in the spirit world who have gone before their consciousness decided they were ready and who need healing in the spirit world before they're ready to take on their acceptance and move on. So they're going to use the talents they've got with us and with them. When they come to us here, then they will come with some form of identity, because we as humans need to know people. We need to know what they're like, we need to know what they did, because we're basically very nosy and not very trusting, basically. And that is the basic capacity of a human being these days. And, you know, that's learned behaviour. So when we have a guide come through, we have this innate desire to know who we work with. I've got to know this and I've got to and I was one of the guiltiest, you have no idea. And now I'm quite comfortable, and if a new energy comes in, I think, oh, that's okay, they've added energy, that's fine, we're going to be working with whatever it is, and I move through it. But some people need to wear their guides like badges, and in doing that we are losing the whole concept of what we're doing.
Did you say batteries or boundaries?
Badges, you know, they've got my guide is...
Oh, badges, okay.
Badges. You know, my guide says, and my guide is, well, I'm sorry, but get in the queue with all the rest because we're all doing the best we can.
Well, my guide's better than your guide.
Well, exactly, for you. My guide trumps your guide every time. And that's as it should be.
Well, my guide said, your guide said.
That's right. And you know, you will hear people that say, my guide says. And I think, get back in your circle and learn what you're doing. Get real. Understand what it's all about. It is not about identities. It's not about personalities. We need to leave that outside when we're working with spirit. Simple as. Any more questions? Are we keeping you awake, darling? You see, you've gone into that lovely energy and you've started yawning, and that is actually quite common. Particularly,
This morning I've been yawning, so
yeah,
this morning.
particularly, it's very common in your home circles that people start yawning. The other thing that they do, which does irritate some mediums that are teaching circles, they start giggling. They can't help it, they start giggling. And they get the giggles, and they get stupid, and they get giddy. Yeah, absolutely. But it's quite common, and it is a reaction to the change in energy. So when your circle group start yawning, rubbing their eyes, giggling, then you know you've actually got a really good energy building up. You're good to go with that. So, I mean, my friend Dawn, my best friend, and Shirley, who I began my pathway with all of those years ago, who was a fantastic psychic artist who went to live in Spain and didn't take me with her. What can I say about that? I could not sit Dawn and Shirley where they were in sight of each other in circle, because they just made each other giggle and giggle. They only had to glance in that direction, and out of circle they really had no contact between them. But in circle they were like a pair of giggly schoolgirls, and they used to apologise later. So, oh God, I don't know what came over me, I couldn't help it. And even now, all these years later, nearly 30 years later, they'll still say, oh no, I used to giggle, I couldn't stop it. And they couldn't. It was like this infectious thing and it was the way they were responding to the energy in the room. And I literally used to have to sit them where they couldn't even catch a sight of each other at times, because it was that bad. So when it happens, although it can be annoying, because you think, get serious, will you?
Because people think you have a secret.
Well, it's sometimes because they think you're not taking things seriously, that you think it's a joke. And to some people it's like, it's not a joke. Well, no, we know it's not. But we don't have to sit like, all night. You don't, do you? You're not in church. You're here to expand your energy. You're here to expand your horizons and make those loving links. Now, what makes you more comfortable? Somebody sat with a dour face that if they tried to smile, the face would crack, or somebody that gives you a big grin and a laugh. What feels more comfortable to you? Which of those would be the most inviting person to go and sit next to?
The giggler.
The giggler. Nobody wants to sit near the miserable wet blanket at the party. Nobody. So why would we do that when we work with spirit? There are some who become very serious and staid, and then there's people like me, which just get on with it. And if I want to crack a joke, I'm going to. And so do you, as long as it's appropriate, and as long as you're not making a joke of people. That's absolutely wrong. We don't make fun of people, but you shouldn't in your normal world. So when you go into work, don't think it's just in those moments when you've sat down and started to build your energy. It's building all day long. They are preparing the building blocks to work on all day long. And sometimes you might not know you're actually going to work until later in the day, because you might be filling in for somebody, or somebody rings you and they're desperate and you've got time to see them, you're not doing anything. So you haven't gone through a ritual that you would do on a day you're going to work. You've just got to snap into it. Don't think for 1 minute that your guides didn't know that was going to happen today, because they did. Which is why you had time to be able to be free, la-di-da-di-da. So don't ever think they're not 100% certain of what's going on, because they are. Sometimes we have to experience things. They cannot stop anything happening to us in our physical world. They might be able to give you a little pointer that you're going to have a decision to make, and then they've got to pray that you're going to make the right decision, because they cannot make decisions for us. And it doesn't matter how highly aspired they are in their consciousness, we still here have to live our lives, and some of our decisions have to be ours, because nobody's life is perfect, and sometimes we just have to go through stuff. They're not there to wipe the floor for us so that we have a clean path. So remember that when you're working with them and you're getting mad because they haven't given you the answer just now that you wanted last week. And haven't we all been guilty of that, to be fair? Haven't we all said, why not and why me? At some point in our lives, we have all done that. The answer is, I will say to when somebody says to me, but why me? My response to that is, why not? What makes you think that you should not have experiences on earth? What makes you think that you are so special that you're immune to the world? None of us are immune to the world. What we have to do is use that energy in the work that we do. So I hope that little bit of a session has let you feel the spirit. So in this section, you're going to work with your psychic skills and with your mediumship together. We're going to combine the two. No expectations, no limitations, just whatever you're able to do. It's not about how much you do, it's about making that connection. Sometimes one little statement is all that's needed. It's not a case of content, it's not quantity, it's quality that we're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you into pairs like we did yesterday, but you're going to work with somebody different in this section. I'm going to move you out a little further so that you've got the space between you all in which you can work, because you do need that energy bubble with you that's not been knocked by the person next to you. There are times, sometimes you see in workshops that people are too close together and they're picking up from the ones that sat just behind them or at the side of them. So to negate that possibility as much as we can, we're going to give you a bit of space and a bit of room. So what you're going to do is I want you to put in turn, take it in turns. I want you to put your energy towards your partner, and I would like you to pick up 3 things about them psychically. So it could be something they like to eat, something, a favourite colour, something that you like to do, something about them, about your partner. And then you're going to put that energy behind you and invite spirit to come and link with you for your partner. Now, if you can get a spirit communicator, that is absolutely fabulous. If you don't get that, but you feel there are words you want to say to them, then remember that we are inspired by spirit in many ways. They inspire us to speak with healing, with concern. It's not always Grandma says. So remember that. It could just be that spirit have something that they want to share.
So put the energy behind me and invite spirit
to communicate with you. Now, I don't want you just communicating with your guide. I would like some form of connection to spirit for your partner. So I don't want advice from your guides. I want words from spirit, from the communicator. Okay?
Write it down.
Write it down and then you can share it. Okay? But it would be good if you can write it down so then they can take it home, you see. They've got that to take with them. A bit like your aurograph, you got to take it home, didn't you? So, decide who wants to go first. The one who's going to be the first recipient, all you need to do is just sit quietly and allow them to work. The minute you've done what you need to do, swap over, and then at the end, you'll share what you've got for each other. Okay? Well, I think you've all done amazingly well on many levels, because we've come to the end of our time together almost, but for a few minutes, and you all came in here as separate people, and you still are separate in the sense of you have your own identity, you are your own people, you are your own uniqueness, but you have bonded in energy, supported each other and helped each other's growth and understanding. And that, to me, is one of the most beautiful gifts that you could share with anybody, to be a part of their journey, of their discovery, is an amazing place to be able to be. So I personally have to say that I have seen changes in all of you, even those of you that are used to working and really don't perhaps need the training on a lot of levels. I have seen a difference in all of you since Thursday evening, and it's actually been a complete pleasure and a joy for me to be able to work with such beautiful souls. So I personally would like to thank you all, including Michelle and Kevin and Bob, because I think Bob's done an awesome job with allowing us to bang our microphones about, drop things, move when he's not expecting us to, and have to run and get a different camera. He's done awesome, hasn't he? Well, staying out there, apart from today when he was dropping his things. But that's okay. We can do this. So,
Are we going to do like the follow-up on our colors or the statements that we picked up on?
we are in a minute, yeah. Don't worry. So I'm going to give you all one of these cards, and it's for you to read and to look at the colours on the back, and I'll explain the colours to you in a minute. But just, I'm going to ask my spirit team to choose each of you a card. These are called back flower cards. I'm not sure if you can still buy them anymore.
Yeah, like the back one.
Mhm. Back.
As in, but if you start reading out, they say, anyway, in the US it's called.
Yeah, but you got for all sorts of things in the US. You've got a very strange.
We have a very dull voice. They have
Yeah,
a very lilting, tilting.
We have lilts and tones and all sorts of things. That one's yours.
Wow. That's exactly what your message was.
What's that?
That's exactly what your message was. The message. They look different, but yeah.
You're going to get another one of these in it, because these come in two parts, so there are two different types with the same thing. But what I want you to do, you're having another pink one, young gentleman. So let's have a look at your cards. Hello? Is there anybody there? Hello? See me? I'm the one that's speaking. Let's have a look at your cards. So when you read it, what do you think to it? Can you see where it might fit in your world at this moment? Yeah? Uh-huh. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So turn it over and look at the colour on the back. Now, the outer colour represents the body. The larger ring is the mind, and that ring in the centre, that centre circle, is your spirit colours at this moment. That's at this moment. Remember, next week it could be different. But at this precise moment in time, those are the colours that are working with you at the moment. So what you need to do is write down what those colours are. I've already given you a cheat sheet with colours on that you can look at, but you can also see what they mean to you, how they feel to you. They are also colours that perhaps you might need to blend and settle. They might be a bit too, or you can take a photograph of it. Good thinking, Batman. And now I'm going to give you one here that may well fit with the one you've already got, or it may not, because that one has got an affirmation on it. This one has got a feeling on it. So those are something for you to work on for yourself within the next week, or however long it takes you to work through it, or you feel that energy is hanging around you. Okay? Remember that these are based on the flower remedies, so they're about the healing that those things bring when we recognise the things that need healing. So bear those things in mind. If you like to use the flower remedies and you want to go and get the ones that are associated to use for yourself, there is no reason why you can't. I'm quite sure that when they were originally devised, that was his plan too. But I just feel I like to use just the cards. I don't know enough about the remedies to offer advice on things like that. I think it takes a lot of learning to understand all that side of it. But if you feel that you need to, that you would like to, then by all means go and find your local supply of Bach flower remedies.
They were on sale last week.
Oh, sorry.
You people that shop and know this sounds
I
great.
know, isn't it sad?
No, it's pretty smart.
What can I say?
I think it's just brilliant.
I think it's just whatever it is, isn't it? But do you use the flat? Well, there we go. So do you understand then why you have the ones you've got?
Well, I certainly have books to go home and read more.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So are any of you surprised by the cards that were chosen for you by Spirit?
Nope.
No? They're good, aren't they? You've got to love them. They're so clever. They're so excellent. I can't imagine life without them, and I hope for all of you that you can't imagine life without them either.
May I ask a side question?
I suppose so, yeah.
When you get that client that's a sitter that's like, no, that's not right, no, that's not right, I don't believe it. And you're giving information from Spirit, do you,
Okay.
is it best to end the session?
Absolutely.
Do you still make them pay?
It would depend. It would depend how quickly they went into that mode with me,
Okay.
and how long it had taken them.
Okay.
You will find some that are unscrupulous people who will wait till almost the end of the reading and then start mouthing because they don't want to pay. They've come with the intention of not paying you. You can't do anything about that other than let them go. Remember the phone number, remember their name if you can, and make sure you don't book them again. And chalk it down to experience. There are some people who are in such a state that unless you are going to say one thing to them, they are not going to accept anything else. I will not use energy on those people. I just say, look, I am not the person that you need to see. You need to go and find somebody else that suits you better because I can't work with you. And I don't charge them. I do know people that would, but I personally don't. I don't.
You want to keep that good energy flowing. And then would you recommend a reader, somebody, or would you just let them find them on their own?
No, I'll tell them to go find one.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't send somebody like that to anybody that I would recommend,
Right.
basically. Yeah. I wouldn't put that on anybody that I respect and would recommend, so definitely not. I mean, I do sometimes recommend other people because I know I can't do any more than I've already done for them. And I'll say, look, maybe I can't, try somewhere else. You've been coming to me for X amount of years, why don't you try somewhere else? And I have no problem doing that because I don't feel that this work is a competition. I don't think it should be a competition. I think that there is enough work for everybody who truly wants to work in the right way, and the right people will find you. So I'm happy with that. I couldn't care less if somebody lived 3 doors down from me and was busier than me. It wouldn't be a problem to me because the right ones are going to find you. And that's how I work with it. But other people work differently.
And I have one more question. How do you prevent them from becoming reliant?
You have to say no.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. You're not there to feed whatever it is they're buying into. You're not there to support their need for anything but growth. We are not there to live their lives for them. And if somebody, like I say, I've got the woman who rings me up if she's got to have a tooth out. Rings me up, what do I think of this, what do I think of that? the other week it was her son had heard a noise in his loft. Have they got rats? She wanted me to ask her mother, have they got rats? I said, get the loft ladder out and tell him to go up and have a look. Oh, he can't go up there. I said, well, tough then. Get pest control in to see and pay for it. But I am not using my energy to tell you if you've got rats in your loft.
And then often they want those for no charge too.
Oh no, she would pay me,
Oh, she would have.
but she expects you to tell her everything to do with her life, how to live it, what to do. Is this person going to be nasty to me? Is that person going to be nasty to me? I don't know. I couldn't live in that space, so I can't tell you what it's like to live in her space. But the word no works
Okay.
every time. You don't have to say it nastily, you just have to say, look, no, not today.
Probably just freaking out because you're away from home.
Oh, well, listen, she rang me 2 days before I arrived here to find out what date I'm coming back and when am I going to start work. So I have to say, microphone and all that, I did tell a little white lie and told her I was taking an extra week off to actually what I am. But that's because I need that space and I need that energy. And I'm not having her waiting for me at the airport with her phone ready, because she would do it. If I said to her, I'm arriving back in the country on X date, she would hope that I might be able to do her a reading, because that's how dependent she is. And that's about, yeah.
They're not allowed.
This woman, in her profession, was a Catholic school headmistress.
Yeah. So I like to give people permission to give themselves permission,
Yeah,
because they often need permission to
Yeah.
do everything.
yeah. But some of them will, no matter what you say to them, they will come back and ask you the same questions over and over and over again. And the only thing you can do with those people is say no. And if they don't ever come back to you, well, you've got peace and quiet. That's how I look at it. So it's a shame. I always send them healing because I think they need it. I send healing and supporting energy, but there comes a point when you have to say no. No. This is not what we're doing. So I hope that you've all enjoyed it. I hope that you've all experienced something wonderful for yourselves and you've taken something away that you can work with and build on. And it's been an absolute joy. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.